And police are in the final stages of their investigation right now, working to tow the vehicles involved who are in here. The vehicle is located, the utility truck on the flatbed over there, crashing into a vehicle located in front of this driveway. You see the pickup truck off to the left side. On the other tow truck here, that vehicle was pushed some 50 feet into a pedestrian who was here simply to look at a rental property. First responders raced to the 500 block of 4th Avenue to help this man in his late 60s pinned underneath a black pickup truck. Police saying he was coming to this home as a potential renter, but was pronounced dead at a nearby trauma center.
It's always heartbreaking. We always caution pedestrians to, be very cautious when they're crossing the street. Being a pedestrian is always a little scary when large vehicles are traveling.
Investigators believe the crash was caused by the driver of this utility truck. He's accused of crashing into a parked pickup truck. The impact pushed the truck into another parked SUV and the pedestrian. Just minutes before the crash, multiple people called 911 to report the same truck driving erratically on nearby streets. This cell phone video shows the driver weaving in traffic. It does not capture the crash.
There's a potential for reckless driving depending on, if the reports are connected between the two vehicles. Yeah, that's a distinct possibility.
A family was also taken to the hospital as a precaution. Police say a father was either loading or unloading their child from a black truck when the crash happened. The mother and a second child were outside and knocked backwards. Officers gave the driver of the utility truck a sobriety test and were seen drawing the man's blood as part of the investigation. He was then allowed to leave the scene.
Pending the investigation, I'm not saying there won't be any charges, but as of now, we are not placing him under arrest.
And police do not believe the injuries of that family that was injured. The mother and her 2 children are considered serious, but they were taken to area hospitals merely, again, as a precaution. And police say they do plan to follow up with the driver of the utility truck.